because it's 11 down and 185 to go, as the government closes 11 migrant hotels.
Well, speaking to GBNews, Home Office Minister Alex Norris said that we should expect more hotel closures this year.
Committed to close all of those hotels, and we're going to close all of those hotels. You know, they peaked at around 400 under the previous government. They're now less than half of that. We're announcing the closures this week of a further 11, with more to come across the springtime. So, you know, we're moving on, you know, at the quickest, safest pace to get all of those hotels closed, which I know is what people across the country want.
Well, as Minister Norris said there, the government aims to close all asylum hotels by 2029. But with the Channel crossings continuing, there are concerns that the private rented sector could be used to house migrants instead.
Well, we can now speak to our Home and Security editor, Mark White, who has more on it. Mark, that is exactly what's happening, isn't it? Once they close the hotels, sounds great, but they're just going to put them, distribute them, sprinkle them into the community.
Yes, that's what I said in that interview with Alex Norris, actually. Look, all you're doing is rearranging the deck chairs. You're not solving the problem of those still coming across the channel in very significant numbers, and until you end that problem, then you will have this continued problem of actually what to do with them. And that's what the government is grappling with. What is the best place, where is the best place to locate these asylum seekers? They've decided that the hotels are too much of a political hot potato. They've been rumbling on for years, ever since they were introduced under the previous Conservative government. So they are reducing the numbers. Certainly the numbers of hotels have halved since the peak of some 400 a couple of years back. But it's where to put them. And as you say, what's happening there is they're being distributed wider into the community. Now, the government say this is all a part of burden sharing, you know, that right across the country, communities will play their part in, you know, providing some kind of help and accommodation for these people. But what often happens is they go into HMOs with no say as far as where they are actually going. They can end up on a neighbouring street to anyone in the country. No one would know about it. And the difficulty is with hotels, at least, there was some security around the hotels, and you would know where the hotel was. If it was something you were concerned about, you could avoid that part of town. With HMOs, it could be right on your street. There's no security. Could be half a dozen men living in a house next to you who are asylum seekers, and with all the concerns that that might bring. The same is true, of course, of these former military barracks that are being used now increasingly as well. More austere conditions, the government say. But the difficulty with these barracks is the migrants are not being detained there. They are still allowed to wander free into local communities, and often these are rural communities next to old military bases. So you've got a big village or a town or whatever, or a small town, right next to an army base, with hundreds more people suddenly descending on that community and going in and using the few facilities that that community has.
Now, of course, while these migrants are staying in these facilities, their applications to get permanent status here are being assessed. One of the routes that an asylum seeker can use to stay in this country is to say that they're gay. And there's been a report by the BBC just today that seems to suggest that a lot of migrants are lying about their sexuality in order to stay.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good and an important investigation that has been carried out by the BBC's investigative unit here. We'd known for some time that many people actually coming across the channel would claim that they are gay. They are often advised by people smugglers and indeed those groups that are supposed to lend support, maybe on a charitable basis, on the other side of the English Channel, about the kind of what the best route for them to get the best possible application to ensure that they get leave to remain here in the UK. And one of the things that migrants are often told is to claim that you're gay. But what the BBC have found out actually is a sort of a slightly different issue from those coming across the channel and saying that they were gay, because they can do that, and then you're into a conversation with the Home Office asking for proof, and often that proof isn't there, and maybe they err on the side that, well, maybe you are telling the truth. But the issue that this investigation that's been published today has turned up are people that are already here, that have been here for some time. So people that have entered the UK on student visas, visitor visas and work visas. They're at the end of that visa process often, and they go on to claim asylum.
Okay.
And this is actually quite a significant number. Out of the 100,000 asylum claims each year, it's 35% of that number, 335,000, sorry, pardon my maths. So these are people that will often, use this as an excuse that I'm gay to try and stay here in the UK. And now, of course, this investigation has found out they are being ably assisted by, it seems, certain lawyers and those immigration advisors who are saying that they can provide them with all the kind of fakery they need, the photographs of them at nightclubs, a partner that might come forward to say that, yes, they'd had sex with them, all of that kind of background detail that you would need to pass the Home Office interviews. So it's a scam, very similar to the sham marriage scams that these migrants have used in the past, and indeed I'm a converted Christian now from Islam. There is a myriad of different scams that they will use to try and outsmart the Home Office, and in many respects and many instances it works.
See, that's why it's terrible. Thank you very much, Mark White. Really good to talk to you.
As a journalist, I'm constantly juggling high-density information under tight deadlines. And honestly, I hate note-taking. It slows me down, and in high-stakes interviews, scribbled notes are rarely 100% accurate. So that's why I have started using the Plaud Note Pro as my professional partner. It has 4 high-fidelity microphones that capture crystal-clear audio from up to 5 meters away, even in large briefing rooms. There's also a smart AMOLED screen, so I can quickly check recording status and battery, and it easily lasts through a full week of heavy reporting. But it's more than just a recorder. It can snap photos of documents, jot ideas, and with just one tap, save the 15 seconds before and after as a highlight, so nothing important slips through. Plaud then turns everything into accurate, structured summaries. It even labels speakers automatically and can format notes into bullet points, task lists, or mind maps. With the Ask Plaud feature, I can instantly search past recordings, generate meeting summaries, or even draft follow-up emails, saving hours of work. And with top-tier security standards like SOC2, GDPR, and HIPAA, my sources stay protected. This isn't just a device, it's an investment in productivity. So get yours today by clicking the link or scanning the QR code.
Get £10 off when you purchase a Plaud Note Pro today. Just use code GBN10 via the first link in the description below.
Well, we're joined now by immigration lawyer Ivan Sampson. Ivan, it seems to me that there are many people scamming the system, but we don't expect, or we expect our lawyers who are assisting these people so they can get their asylum claims through to be playing things by the book. And it sounds to me like they are, but they're kind of helping them out to enable them to stay by kind of cheating in the book.
Yeah, and anyone, if these allegations are true, it's deeply concerning if legal advisors are doing this. And you have to remember, they pointed to legal advisors, not solicitors. There's a big distinction between the two. So I've always felt that the OISC regulator was the Office of Immigration Service Commissioner legal advisors. I don't think they're properly regulated, and they don't have the same ethical codes that we solicitors have regulated by the SRA. I think it's completely different. That's the first point. But we have to remember that the asylum system is there to protect genuine people.
Yeah.
And what amazes me is we expect these people to tell the truth. I mean, I don't expect people to tell me the truth when they're desperate. Desperate people will say desperate things. It's for the Home Office to have robust systems to catch these people out. And I've always said, and then people have actually ridiculed me for it, is we should give them a lie detector test. Why not? It works.
Does it?
That will tell you something.
It's a bit Jeremy
Absolutely.
Kyle.
It's used regularly in the US in criminal cases
It's deeply
for many years.
Hang on, no, lie detector tests aren't used in this country in criminal cases because
In the US.
all they do is they test sort of your heart rate and various other things that, yes, are associated with lying, but don't definitively prove it. I mean, there's no such thing as a genuine 100% bona fide lie detector test.
Tom, what would you rather have? Is an immigration officer who hasn't got a clue about whether to decide whether someone's gay and who's being fooled by people pretending to be gay? And listen, they go to extreme lengths to prove that they're gay. I mean, I'm talking about even filming themselves having sex.
Yeah.
So let me tell you that, is that not better? And I think we need to use technology.
No.
That's just one example, right?
Look, if in doubt, keep them out.
Well, I'm sorry. Tom, that's not the right attitude because, people facing persecution because of their sexual orientation may face death. So I'm afraid that's not the right attitude.
Why look, there may be many millions of people who face persecution and even death because of their sexuality around the world. Why does it fall on this country to house them and protect them?
Exactly.
Well, simple, because we're members of the Refugee Convention. That's why. If you don't like it, come out the convention. But don't moan about it and say, well, we let's not abide by the laws. Let's not abide by international treaties like Russia, Belarus, and many countries are not part of the convention. I don't want to be like that. I want to provide.
I'm not sure that we can hold the moral high ground on other countries. Just say we hold the moral high ground and we're part of this. Perhaps we should just be realistic about what we're doing and consider the citizens of this country. And I'm sorry, but I just think it's gone way too far, all of this. And, perhaps they shouldn't be allowed legal advisors. As you pointed out, there's a distinction. Perhaps they should just go straight to solicitors and not be given advice, because I don't see why we're paying for that. They should just say what they say. We find out what they're saying. And if it doesn't match with what is required and they can't prove it at that point, then we just chuck them out. Ivan Sampson, thank you very much.
People should be prosecuted as well, Nana. I mean, they should absolutely be prosecuted, and they should be seen to be prosecuted by the public.
Okay.
And that should deter others.
Ivan, we have to go, but we'll be talking more about this in the next hour. Ivan Sampson, immigration lawyer, always a pleasure. Thank you very much. We're now joined by human rights lawyer Shoaib Khan. Shoaib, why are we giving why are these people, apparently it's the legal advisors that they give the advice to these people and then they get represented by a solicitor. Why do we have to give them a legal advice, or why are they allowed to get legal advice in that way? Surely they should just tell their story, have somebody represent them, and if their story doesn't fit with the reason that they're claiming asylum, then they should go. Why? It feels like they are being groomed, aren't they, in a way, as to what to say, so they know what to do, so they can definitely get through the system.
Hi. So firstly, just to clarify a few things, what you were saying, I think what both of you said right at the start of the program, I think, obviously, I think any decent person would completely agree with most of what was being said. Of course, this seems to be an appalling practice, whoever's, engaging in it, and it needs to be investigated, prosecuted, whatever needs to be done. But one serious issue is, and I think, another thing I really appreciated, Nana, that you making the distinction between lawyers or solicitors and legal advisors, and that's the difference as well. As in many other professions, for instance, in medicine and others, between regulated professionals or qualified professionals and others who have just set up shop and are taking hundreds of thousands of pounds and offering advice, not just that might be inaccurate or, in this case, fraudulent, but in fact, there's no accountability. And in the end of the day, no one's answerable for it because it isn't a regulated organization. But in terms of what you're saying, I think one thing where I would disagree with you is where you were saying that these people shouldn't have legal aid. I think it's in fact when we don't give them legal aid, that's when they get pushed to people like this. Because if someone does have legal aid, there's a list of solicitors that the Home Office has who can claim legal aid, who can accept legal aid claims. And then those people have to go to these people, to those solicitors. And those solicitors are regulated, they're claiming legal aid. So they're, everyone knows, and they know that they're answerable for what they do. But it's only when they don't have legal aid and someone's having to raise the funds privately and pay someone £1,000 that they get forced into this. And like we saw today in the newspaper, that photo, of a legal advisor, or that's what she's calling herself, sitting on her bed in a bedroom. And obviously that's not what any, decent, remotely respectable lawyer would ever do or, ever think of doing. But it's only when we don't have legal aid and these people have to raise the funds themselves that they're forced to take advice from people like that.
I take your point that this might be more common with people who solely rely on legal advice. But, I mean, there are cases of people who have used lawyers
the Daily Mail.
who have claimed the most bizarre sorts of things. Last year, a 53-year-old Pakistani migrant was allowed to stay in the country. Now, he was convicted of sexually assaulting a woman, and yet he got to stay because after his conviction, he claimed to be gay. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know that many gay men who sexually assault women. I mean, this is clearly nonsense. And yet, that's what he claimed, clearly under the auspices of lawyers, because he was going through the legal system at the time. I mean, this is a problem with some lawyers as well.
But I mean, it may well be, of course. I mean, I'm sure. I don't think there's any profession where there's no one who does anything wrong and there's no wrongdoing at all. I mean, it's just like, if we find a doctor or a few doctors who are, giving out fraudulent or false sick notes, for instance, we wouldn't then say, all doctors are wrong or all patients are wrong or abolish the NHS or something. Then, of course, we have to go after those doctors. So, of course, I'm sure lawyers like that do exist. But one thing, and I think, I just heard it mentioned, sort of the Daily Mail sting that happened maybe 2-3 years ago. Yeah. But in fact, if I remember or understand correctly, I think none of those lawyers, the case wasn't proven against any of those lawyers in the end. So what it means is that obviously these stories do get misinterpreted, they do get misreported, and they do get sensationalized. So that is something we have to be careful about especially when we're naming people and publishing photographs. But another thing on the point that you're making about...
Hold on, sorry, Shoaib. No, they actually recorded these lawyers giving advice and explaining how someone what tablets to take, and even helping them get the tablets so they could claim depression and all these sort of things. So that was a big sting operation, and there were many lawyers who were involved in that. I'm just to your point that they should go straight to lawyers and legal advisors shouldn't have legal advisors. It was just to your point there. But yeah, I just just to clarify. Sorry, carry on. We've got a few minutes, about 30 seconds left.
Yeah, no, sure. So, I mean, I think another thing, obviously, is that, cases like this and reports like this, in fact, they are harming asylum seekers and genuine gay people who are fleeing persecution more than anyone else. So I don't think anyone, who has any interest in human rights or these people or the predicament they find themselves in would ever be engaging in practices like this.
All right, Shoaib Khan, thank you very much. He's a human rights lawyer.
Now, in regards to hotels, a Home Office spokesman said this.
This government is removing the incentives drawing illegal migrants to Britain and ramping up removals of those with no right to be here. That is why we are closing every asylum hotel and moving asylum seekers into basic accommodation, including ex-military sites.
In response to the story that some migrants are pretending to be gay to get asylum, a Home Office spokesman said,
any attempt to misuse protections designed for people fleeing genuine persecution because of their sexuality is deplorable. The asylum system is built on robust safeguards to ensure every claim is rigorously and fairly assessed.
They continued, protection is granted only to those who meet the established criteria, abuse is effectively uncovered and procedures continually reviewed to shut down misuse.